So let's talk about resources, and specifically resources that are available for the Hispanic and veteran community, because there are some resources that are very unique to your community of entrepreneurs. So what recommendations do you have for these entrepreneurs to go out there and get the resources that they need, whether it's funding or around exporting? What would you suggest?
Well, that's a great question, and it's a humongous marketplace in terms of the number of Latinos and other minorities that are starting businesses. But I want to bring special attention to Latinas. They're the fastest growing entrepreneurial population out there, and it's really amazing. So, great question. The National Minority Supplier Development Center, or Council, is actually an organization where you can get certified. So that's an organization that'll connect you with really big companies if you undergo the certification process. The Minority Business Development Agency is also a wonderful organization, and this organization is, through mandates of the federal government, located in the major metropolitan areas. And through that association, I actually found a program through Dartmouth University and was able to go through level 1 and level 2. So these are like mini MBAs that they'll bring entrepreneurs of enterprises or companies of certain sizes and bring them up to Connecticut for classes that are over there. Moving over to the world of the veterans, most of the chambers of commerce have organizations like VetWorks, like we have in Philadelphia, where there's an association to help us network, find teaming relationships, and there's a lot of organizations in D.C. that'll help you to make those connections with prime contractors. So if you're going after that billion-dollar contract, look, I'm an 18-person firm. I'm not going to be a prime, but I can be a subcontractor. And finding those relationships and teaming arrangements need to be done prior to identifying any RFP. If you found the RFP, you're too late. Go find a relationship and then wait for the next RFP to come out in that category.
Because there's usually a requirement. I mean, for these large contracts, again, that are coming out, especially at the different states where the RFP goes out, and there's usually a requirement that part of that contract needs to go to minority, women-owned type business, correct? Is that your experience as well?
Exactly, and it all comes down, just like big business, just like small business, to who you know. And those relationships, which need to be, true, verdadero, as we say in Spanish. And verdadero, it's true. It's a true relationship, not a business relationship solely. So in my case, I just networked through my alumni organizations and through my minority community and found those relationships.
On the funding front specifically, I mean, have you seen pockets of opportunity for Hispanics or veterans to gain access to funding? So we've talked about contracting, we've talked about places where people can get help to establish some of these corporate relationships, but what about the actual, I need a loan or I need an investment? What have you found to be a popular place to go to get that help?
Well, going back to the small business development centers across the country, that's been a wonderful resource for me. And we've teamed up with universities, and I've brought in MBA students, and they've helped me do assessments on the direction that I should take my business. SCORE is another great organization for retired executives that offers some mentorship. That's a great resource. And then just talking to the banks. And a lot of times the banks themselves, just walk into 3 or 4 of the banks that you think are going to be able to work with you in your region. Establish those relationships, take these folks out for lunch or dinner, and ask them, hey, are you doing anything here? And they'll tell you, yeah, there's a new program from the XM Bank, which is the Export-Import Bank, or we just signed up with this new program with the Small Business Administration to do XYZ loan program that might be new. And if the banks are going to be at the forefront of that information as well.
And one last question on that front, because I really like how you've stayed so focused on it's so critical to build those relationships to really make anything happen. And that's true of pretty much anything out there. But for those entrepreneurs who are listening, they're going, but I need money now, I need this and this and this. And they're hearing, okay, but you got to focus on that relationship. So to help them manage their own expectation, what have you seen in terms of, give yourself how many months to just really focus on building the relationships, and then you can move to that stage where you actually go to ask for the help or ask for the money or ask for whatever it may be. What's your advice on that front?
Well, it all comes down to the business decision that whoever is going to fund you is going to take, and ultimately that's going to be a bank, because all these programs we've talked about are going to be things that are brought by a bank. So the SBA might collateralize the loan, as the program would entail, but still a banker needs to make that decision. So my advice to you would be it takes 3 times as long, it's going to cost you 3 times as much money, and have a working prototype and a paying customer. If you can keep those expectations in line and secure that working prototype and paying customer, however that's defined in your business, and services business have, like mine, have a little bit more of a challenge, then you should be able to secure that loan. But you need to understand the pro forma, the projections, and programs like the program at Dartmouth can help you work through all those numbers so that when you sit in front of the bank, you've begun the war and before the first battle was even started. I love that phrase from Sun Tzu, which says that you need to make sure that you've won the war before you begin the first battle. And the losing general begins the first battle wondering if he'll win the war.
Being a West Point grad, I'm not surprised this is coming from Paul, but I have this big grin on my face because I'm like, dang it, you can never get away from that piece of advice that things cost 3 times as much and take 3 times as long. So thank you for reiterating that, and thank you for the advice, Paul.
My pleasure.